Ladies and gentlemen, you may have tried and failed. You may have believed and been disappointed. You prayed, you gave it your all, and yet it didn't work out. Now you're standing there thinking, maybe I missed my chance. Maybe that dream wasn't meant to be. But I'm here to tell you, it's time to try again. Just because it didn't happen last time doesn't mean it won't happen this time. The delay wasn't a denial, it was preparation. See, sometimes God will allow things not to work out, not to punish you, but to prepare you, to build endurance, to stretch your faith, to teach you things success never could. You're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. You know more? You've grown, you've matured, you're stronger than you were back then. The mistakes, the heartbreak, the setbacks, they didn't stop you, they shaped you. They shaped you. You may feel like you're in the dark, but that's where seeds grow. God often does his greatest work in hidden places. You're not buried, you're planted. And when the time is right, when the soil is ready, you're going to come up stronger, higher, more fruitful than ever. Some of you are thinking, but I've failed too many times. No, you're not disqualified. There's grace for another try. His mercy is new every morning. That means every day you have permission to believe again, to hope again, to begin again. Don't let disappointment become your destination. Don't settle where you are. That dream, that business, that relationship, that healing, it's still possible, but you've got to get back in the fight. Shake off the discouragement. Put your hope back on. Tell yourself, this time it's going to be different. Your story's not over. It's not too late. It's time to try again. And this time, watch what God can do when you move forward in faith. Let me know if you'd like this in a video script style, sermon outline, or adapted for youth college students. Failure is not the finale. It's easy to believe that when something goes wrong, when we fall short, when we mess up, when we lose, we've reached the end of the road. But failure is not where your story ends. It's just a chapter, not the whole book. In fact, some of the most successful people, the most fulfilled, the most impactful, had to walk through seasons of disappointment, discouragement, and even defeat. The difference, they didn't let failure define them. They saw it as feedback, not as a finish line. They understood that failure isn't a label. It's a lesson. It's a teacher, often a better one than success ever could be. When a baby learns to walk, it falls dozens of times before taking its first steps. Yet we never look at that child and say, oh, well, walking must not be for them. No, we cheer them on. We encourage them to keep going. Why? Because we know falling is part of learning. So why don't we give ourselves the same grace? Why do we let one rejection convince us we're not talented? Why do we let one mistake tell us we're not worthy? The truth is, the fall doesn't disqualify you. It qualifies you. It proves that you had the courage to try. Think about anyone who's made a lasting impact, whether in science, art, business, ministry, or education. What you'll often find behind their success is not a trail of perfect decisions, but a trail of resilience, setbacks, roadblocks, missteps. But what made the difference was the decision to keep moving, to try again, to keep showing up when it was easier to quit, to choose faith over fear, progress over perfection. Each failure became a stepping stone to something greater. You see, life doesn't come with guarantees. There will be seasons where things don't go according to plan. You might give it everything you have and still fall short. But that doesn't mean it's over. In fact, it often means you're getting closer, because every failure refines you. It sharpens your focus. It exposes weak spots and builds strength in places you didn't know needed it. The pain of failure can actually prepare you for the pressure of success. It's training ground for the promise ahead. The danger isn't in failing. The danger is in staying down, in giving up, in letting shame, fear, or discouragement settle in your heart and convince you that it's not worth trying again. But it is worth it. You are worth it. And your purpose is too great to let a single moment or even 100 moments convince you otherwise. Don't let failure become your identity. You are not what didn't work out. You are not the mistake you made. You are not the person who always messes up. You are growing, learning, evolving. And what feels like an end might actually be the beginning of something new, something stronger, deeper, and more impactful than anything you've experienced before. So if you've fallen, get back up. If the door closed, try the next one. If they walked away, it's because they weren't assigned to your future. If the plan didn't work, maybe it's time for a new one. Not because you failed, but because you're growing, and growth requires movement. Failure is not the finale. It's the invitation to rise again, to believe again, to keep walking, because the best is still ahead. Delayed doesn't mean denied. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We often confuse a waiting season with a wasted season, but they are not the same. Sometimes what looks like a delay is really divine timing at work. It's not that the promise is canceled. It's that the preparation is still in progress. There are things you've prayed for, dreamed about, and worked toward that haven't come to pass, and it's easy to wonder if maybe they never will. But delay is not a stop sign. It's a pause. And in that pause, God is doing something behind the scenes that you can't yet see. In our fast-paced world, we expect immediate results. We want the answer now, the breakthrough today, the dream fulfilled tomorrow. But meaningful things often take time. A tree doesn't sprout up the moment the seed is planted. It takes root underground in unseen places before it ever breaks through the surface. In the same way, much of what we hope for is growing beneath the surface of our lives, quietly, patiently, steadily. And when it finally emerges, it will be strong enough to last because it was allowed to develop the right way. Sometimes the delay is actually protection. Maybe you weren't ready for that opportunity when you thought you were. Maybe the door that didn't open would have led you down a path that wasn't aligned with your purpose. What feels like a setback could very well be a setup. A delay could be God positioning you for something even greater than what you asked for. When you understand that, you stop seeing the waiting as punishment. You start trusting that the process has purpose. There's also development happening in you during the delay. You're being strengthened in patience, in perseverance, in character. You're learning to trust deeper, to stay faithful when nothing seems to be moving. And that kind of growth is priceless because it prepares you for the responsibility of what's coming. Sometimes God wants to do something in you before He does something through you. So don't despise the wait, embrace it, use it. Let it shape you into the person who's ready to carry the blessing when it arrives. You may not see the fruit right now, but that doesn't mean the seed isn't growing. Every day you stay faithful. Every time you choose hope over discouragement, every moment you keep believing, it's watering the dream. It's investing in the future. And when the time is right, the door will open. The answer will come. The breakthrough will happen. And it will be better, deeper, more beautiful than you imagined. It's okay to feel tired in the waiting, but don't let weariness convince you to walk away from what you're called to. Delays stretch our faith, but they also reveal its depth. This is the moment to trust, not to give up. This is the moment to remind yourself, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. It simply means the timing is being aligned for something that's worth the wait. So keep showing up, keep preparing, keep believing, keep believing. Your delay is not your denial. What's meant for you is still on the way, and when it comes, you'll understand why it took the time it did. Growth happens in the dark. It's easy to celebrate the mountaintop moments, the visible victories, the public achievements, the answered prayers. But true growth, the kind that transforms you from the inside out, often takes place in seasons that feel hidden, lonely, or uncertain. These are the moments when no one is clapping, no one is watching, and everything in you wants to question whether your faith, your work, or your waiting is worth it. But just like a seed planted in the soil, your life is developing in powerful ways, even when you can't see what's happening on the surface. When a seed is buried underground, it doesn't look like progress. It looks like nothing. But deep in that darkness, transformation is taking place. Roots are forming, structure is being built, and strength is being developed long before the sprout ever breaks through. The same is true for you. In those seasons where you feel overlooked, underappreciated, or forgotten, something deeper is happening. You're being grounded. You're being refined. And the deeper the roots, the higher the potential growth. Sometimes we think that if we're not being seen, we're not being used, but visibility doesn't determine value. Some of the most important work in your life will happen when nobody else is around to applaud it. That quiet time you spend developing your character, showing up in integrity, doing what's right when no one's watching, that's not wasted time. That's foundation. And a strong foundation always precedes elevation. You don't build a skyscraper without digging deep first. The deeper the excavation, the stronger the structure. So if you feel like you're in a deep place right now, don't despair. You're being built for something greater. In the dark, you learn to depend on faith more than feelings. You stop living by what you see and start trusting what you believe. That's when maturity starts to take root. You grow patience, resilience, discipline. You discover who you really are and who God really is. You stop performing and start becoming. And what's growing in that hidden place will eventually become the fruit that blesses others. Dark seasons are not punishment. They are preparation. God does some of his best work in silence. Just because he's quiet doesn't mean he's absent. The silence might be sacred space where he's shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing the right opportunities, relationships, and resources to meet you when the time is right. So instead of resenting the dark, lean into it. Ask, what is this season teaching me? Rather than, when will it end? When will it end? Growth isn't always comfortable, but it's always worth it. If you're in a season where you feel unseen, unheard, or unsure, remind yourself, even in the dark, you are growing. You are not buried. You are planted. You are planted. And soon the fruit of your faith, the harvest of your obedience, and the reward of your endurance will break through into the light. Until then, trust the process. Stay rooted in truth. Keep nurturing your spirit. What's growing in secret will one day be celebrated in public. And when that day comes, you'll realize the dark was never your enemy. It was your greenhouse. Your effort still matters. In a world that often celebrates only the results, the spotlight moments, the trophies, the finish lines, it can be easy to overlook the value of consistent effort, especially when it seems like nothing is changing. You show up day after day, give your best, plant the seeds, pray the prayers, speak the faith, and still wonder, is any of this even working? But what you have to understand is that effort is never wasted, not in the eyes of heaven, and not in the process of becoming who you were created to be. Every step forward, even if it feels small, is part of something bigger being built in your life. The challenge is that growth rarely happens overnight. There's a gap between sowing and reaping, and in that gap, you're called to stay faithful, even when the results aren't immediate. The time you spent building that habit, encouraging someone else, staying kind when it was easier to be bitter, showing up when you felt like quitting, that mattered. Maybe the breakthrough hasn't come yet, but the groundwork is being laid. Just because you don't see the fruit today doesn't mean the seed isn't working beneath the surface. Effort trains your character. It keeps you humble. It teaches you to trust the process and depend not on instant success, but on inner strength. You're learning discipline, perseverance, and integrity in those everyday actions that nobody else may notice. But heaven sees, and what you do in private will eventually show up in public. There's a reward for those who don't give up. Galatians tells us that if we do not grow weary in doing good in due season, not immediate season, not our preferred season, but due season, we will reap a harvest. The danger comes when we start thinking that if we're not seeing results, we must not be making progress. That's a lie. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not valuable. Just because it's not happening as fast as you wanted doesn't mean it's not going to happen. God honors faithfulness. And often the greatest miracles show up in the lives of those who simply refuse to stop sowing, who kept praying, kept believing, kept building, even when it would have been easier to walk away. Your effort is an expression of your faith. It's saying, I still believe something good is coming, so I'm going to keep preparing for it. That preparation is powerful. Every act of effort is a step of agreement with your destiny. It's easy to believe when things are going well. But the real power is when you keep believing in the middle of uncertainty, when you keep pushing forward, even through discouragement, doubt, or delay. Maybe you've been working on a dream, raising a family, building a business, overcoming a challenge, or healing from pain, and you've wondered if your labor is in vain. Let me remind you, it's not. Not one act of love, obedience, or faithfulness goes unseen. God is keeping record. And when the time is right, your effort will collide with opportunity. What you've been building quietly will be revealed loudly. The seeds you planted in tears will be harvested with joy. So keep going. Keep giving your best. Keep showing up, not because of what you see, but because of what you believe. The effort you're putting in today is shaping the breakthrough that's coming tomorrow. You may not feel it now, but you are building a life of purpose, piece by piece, decision by decision. And one day soon you'll look back and realize it all mattered. Every step. Every prayer, every effort, you're closer than you think. When you've been walking by faith, working hard, and staying the course without seeing the results you hoped for, it's easy to feel like the finish line is still far away. It's tempting to believe that nothing is happening, that your breakthrough is out of reach, or that maybe you missed your moment. But the truth is, many people give up right before the blessing is about to be released. They turn back when they were just steps away from the promise. You can't always see is how close you really are, how much ground you've already covered, how much progress you've made in your spirit, your character, and your journey. There's something about pressure that often intensifies just before the breakthrough. Things might feel like they're falling apart, but that's sometimes the sign that things are about to come together. Just like a woman in labor feels the greatest pain right before the baby is born, you might be in a season where the discomfort is rising, the obstacles are growing, and the opposition feels heavier. But that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're on the verge. Don't let how it feels in the moment fool you into thinking the journey has been in vain. Most of the time, the biggest blessings are delivered after the biggest battles. Every step you've taken has been moving you forward, even if the scenery hasn't changed. You've been growing in patience, learning how to trust deeper, choosing faith over fear, and all of that is positioning you for what's ahead. Just because the reward hasn't shown up yet doesn't mean it's not already in motion. Heaven has perfect timing, and sometimes what looks like a delay is really just divine alignment. Everything you've been waiting for could be just one conversation away, one opportunity away, one act of obedience away. Don't stop now. So many people walk away in the 9th hour. They let discouragement have the final say. They say things like, maybe it wasn't meant to be, or I guess this is all there is. But they were right at the edge of the shift, right at the edge of the answered prayer. Just one more day, one more try, one more decision to believe could have changed everything. That's why it's so important to hold on when you feel like giving up. That's when the breakthrough often arrives. Not when everything feels good, but when you keep going even though it doesn't. Sometimes, when you can't see the full picture, you have to trust the process. Like climbing a mountain knowing how close you are to the summit until suddenly the view opens up, your journey is leading somewhere, and the path has purpose. Don't get distracted by what hasn't happened yet. Focus on how far you've come. Think about the battles you've already won, the nights you cried but didn't quit, the times you stood when you could have crumbled. That strength wasn't wasted. It was preparation. You may not see the results today, but they are closer than you realize. The door you've been praying for might already be unlocking. The person you're supposed to meet could already be on their way. The change you've been waiting for may already be scheduled in heaven, but will you still believe when it's just around the corner? Will you keep pushing when all logic says stop? Now is not the time to retreat. Now is the time to stand firm. You're not at the beginning. You're at the edge. Keep speaking life. Keep expecting favor. Keep doing good. Keep trusting the timing. You are closer than you think. And if you keep going just a little further, you'll step into a place that makes the whole journey make sense. It's not over because you failed. Failure is not final, and it's not a reflection of your worth. Too often we let one mistake, one missed opportunity, or one season of struggle convince us that we're disqualified from what we were born to do. We start to believe the lie that because we fell, we can't rise again. But the truth is, failure is part of the journey, not the end of it. Everyone who's ever accomplished something meaningful has walked through failure. It's not a detour from your purpose. It's often the very thing that refines it. When you fall short, when things don't go as planned, when the door closes or the plan falls apart, it doesn't mean your story is over. It means there's a new chapter being written. Failure is a teacher, not a terminator. It reveals what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be strengthened, and where growth is still happening. It humbles you, but it also builds you. Some of the greatest strength you'll ever gain will come from the moments when you thought you couldn't get back up, but did anyway. That comeback, that resilience, that's where your real power begins. You have to stop defining yourself by the failure and start defining yourself by the decision to rise again. There are people who never step into their destiny, not because they weren't gifted enough, but because they let failure convince them to stop trying. But just because you lost once doesn't mean you'll lose again. Just because it didn't work out last time doesn't mean it won't this time. Failure doesn't mean God changed his mind about you. The calling is still intact. The purpose is still alive. The dream is still valid. You just have to give yourself permission to try again. Many people carry shame after failing like it's a mark they'll never outgrow. But shame is not your portion. Grace is. Mercy is. a new beginning. You're not defined by the worst thing you've done. You're defined by the love that refuses to give up on you. So instead of hiding your scars, let them become part of your story. What the enemy tried to use to break you, God can use to build you. Your failure may feel like a full stop, but in God's hands, it's just a comma. It's not where your story ends. It's where your growth begins. Don't be afraid to start again. Don't let fear of another failure paralyze you from stepping out. The person who never fails is the person who never risks, never dreams, never dares to do anything different. But that's not you. You've got too much purpose, too much potential, too much calling to stay stuck in regret. You might be bruised, but you're not broken. You might be tired, but you're not finished. If you've still got breath, you've still got a future. There's still time to rise, to rebuild, to walk boldly toward the thing you once thought you lost. Remember, your failure doesn't disqualify you. It qualifies you. It gives you compassion, depth, and understanding. It helps you lead with humility and live with authenticity. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with perseverance. Your story, with all its ups and downs, is going to inspire someone else to keep going. So pick yourself up. Wipe off the dust. Refuse to let one chapter define the whole book. This is your time to try again. Not because it's easy, not because everything is perfect, but because you are not finished yet. You are not done, and the best is still ahead.